friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I don't know if you are familiar with Elevated Harmonics, but it is a music studio that I have started with the intent of helping people to live creative lives through music, but also just broader than that, more richly and vulnerably true to who they are. That has come from a place of my own exploring those ideas. If you don't know me, I'm Elizabeth Hogan, and I'm really glad to get to know you a little bit today and just introduce you to what's going on over here. So I taught middle school music for 7 years and loved it so much. Love the kids. My favorite thing about middle school kids is that they are so straightforward, so honest, so authentic. Like they don't even know a better way to be for the most part. And I love that about them. In the course of those 7 years, though, I started to get passionate about working with grown-ups, working with adults. And I was able to do some professional developments in my school district in suburban St. Louis. That sparked my desire to learn how to work with grown-up people. So I ended up doing my PhD in music education, learning, teaching, and curriculum. And over the process of that time, I learned so much about working with adults, building relationships, guiding young people who were in this profession. I grew up in a family with a dad who is an administrator and a mom who's a music teacher. And so an understanding of what we do in schools and how we work with people is just something that comes pretty naturally to me. So I had a little stint in nonprofit for a bit. I worked with the St. Louis Children's Choirs and did community engagement and outreach for them, which was a great fit because my dissertation focused on school and community partnerships. So to be able to do that in real time with schools in St. Louis was just really incredible. It was a really incredible growth opportunity. And I loved my time with the Children's Choirs, both part-time when I was teaching in the middle school level. I worked with them in the evenings and worked with kids from 3rd through 12th grade in that program, and then getting to do the full-time aspect of that and be in a nonprofit organization, focusing on growth, focusing on community building, focusing on relationships with donors and supervising staff and things like that. Just brought out a whole new side of my interest, my professional interest. For the past 4 years, I've been on faculty at Southeast Missouri State University, and I've loved that work. I am the coordinator of music education there. And in that time, it's been really cool because I've gotten to watch all these young people who want to be passionate music educators move into that space. So people in elementary who are interested in choral and who are interested in instrumental music education, all of them, I've been working with them and helping them to understand what it means to be a musician, a music educator, and to grow in their professional life. So, but some of you may know this. I recently resigned from my job. That has been one of the hardest decisions that I have had to make personally and professionally in my entire life. And I think for people on the outside who may not know me and know kind of how I function, it might seem pretty rash to leave a job without knowing what's next. But for me, it's become clear that that's the best way to move forward for a couple of reasons. So after living in Cape Girardeau for a couple of years, my family moved back to St. Louis, where we had lived previously, because my ex-husband got a job. At the time we were still married, he got a job teaching up here that was going to pay him significantly more, and that was going to end up being the best decision financially for our family. Well, about 3 months after we moved back to St. Louis, we had a pretty big life change. Kyle came out as gay, and our family, it was the right thing for us to do to end our marriage. We are still really close. And are incredible co-parents. He's an incredible teacher and friend to me, but at the same time, my situation is different now. And I continued on for 2 years commuting back and forth. My school made it possible for me to commute and work from home some and be based out of home in the relationship development that I was doing with partner schools and the supervision of field experience. But it just has, over 2 years, become clear that it's unsustainable. In the middle of that, we had COVID, right? So I found myself homebound in a way that actually made my life a little bit easier than it probably would have been. And I was able to hang on to doing that job and trying to do my best in it probably longer than would have been sustainable otherwise. As the world starts to get back to normal, it became really clear that I wasn't able to be the mom that I want to be to my kids. And I have not been able to practice the self-care that I have grown to find incredibly important since my marriage ended. In that time, since that happened, I started to read a lot more about what it means to be healthy and the reasons that we need to do things like basic stuff, right? Like drink water, exercise every day, eat foods that are nourishing to our bodies. Like I just had a crisis of functioning where I needed to figure out how to be well. And so I spent a lot of time over the last year figuring that out for myself. It was a bonus that I lost some weight in that process, but more than that, it was just a focus on trying to be healthy and well, and to feel my best, to have good energy, to interact with my kids, and to do my job to the best of my abilities, and to really be able to feel and identify the feelings that I was feeling and to find joy again. For me, that has meant, a lot of lifestyle changes that in this past semester, as I've been back on campus, I've let some of those things slip. So I got really interested in yoga right around the time of my divorce. It was something that I used. I knew I needed it immediately, and it has helped me process so many emotions and feelings along the way. So that interest in yoga, I'm starting my yoga teacher training in this summer, and I have discovered so many ways that that is tied to music education and teaching people how to live their best lives, right? So that intersects in a lot of ways that we can use in the classroom. Things like trauma-informed practice, especially in a field where we are working with people's bodies, right? When we're teaching singing, we are instructing people how to maneuver and utilize their body. And I can look back now and see that so many people that I have taught over the years who have challenges with their singing voice, those that I know their personal story, I can look back and see connections between the struggles that they had vocally and traumas that they were going through. So that has been something that's been really illuminating to me, both in my own journey and in that of my students. So I'm utilizing some of that information in my own life and in my practice as a teacher. A couple other things that have become really important to me. I learned about a lot of food allergies and sensitivities that I have that I had neglected to address for a lot of my life. And I realized when I eliminated some of those foods that my energy went through the roof. It was just incredible. So I've always teased with my students when I talk to them about taking care of themselves, that our gut health is really important, right? And it's tied to mental health and mental wellness. And so I've always joked about that. But now in practice, I see that for myself and I see how those things are tied. I've become a little bit obsessed with the vagus nerve, which runs from our brains all the way up and down next to our spine and communicates with all the major systems of our body. And I think it's fascinating that things like singing are prescribed to help strengthen vagal nerve function and communication. So there are so many pieces of wellness that have become integral to how I approach being a musician and being a teacher. And so I think I'm just coming here today to invite you into this really crazy journey that I am on of figuring out what I'm going to do next with my skill set. I've been a music teacher for 16 years in some form or fashion. But along the way, I've also, discovered other skills that are adjacent to that. And I'm at a point in my life where I am designing what's going to be best for me and for my children. And so, all of those things added up together to make my decision to leave my position without knowing what's next, the right one for us, even though, oh my gosh, even though it's super scary. But there's something that comes with going through hard things that gives you a sense of trust in oneself. So I inherently trust myself so much more deeply than I have at any other point in my journey. And I have decided to sort of share that journey with you. One of the first things I need to do is to get back on track with my wellness practices, my sleeping, my water intake, my focus on healthy foods that give me energy and eating to be healthy, eating to live, and moving my body in ways that bring me joy. So I am back to focusing on that, and I wanted to invite you in, to follow my journey if you want, to maybe inspire you a little bit. One of the things about me, y'all, I mean, I'm not your typical wellness professional, right? I'm chubby, and I have not been a person who's really into working out and eating well my whole life. So, if that's interesting to you to see like a real person doing these things, then you might be interested to follow along. And it's just become really important to me. Two things. First of all, one of the strands of our national standards in music education is the concept of connecting music to other areas. And so I think when I look back over my whole career, connecting has become, I think, the place where my strength lies, understanding how music connects with other disciplines, understanding how to connect our classroom to experiences and opportunities outside of the classroom, in order to deepen the ways that we can provide resources to our students. So that's number one. Number two is just the chance to be authentic, the chance to be real, the chance to help people to understand how this thing that we do, that we give so much of ourselves through, can actually be something that gives back to us. And how can we make it sustainable? I think we have some examining to do in our practice as music educators. Currently, some of the statistics sort of suggest that about a third of people who sing through high school go on to sing in college, and about a third of those people who sing in college go on to sing as adults. And I sort of think we need to call that out and say, what's going on here, right? What is happening that more people aren't seeing singing as a thing they can do as a lifelong practice, especially when we can tie it back to being something that is super healthy for us, for our bodies, again, for that vagal nerve function, the communication between the brain and the body. How can we treat ourselves as professionals in a way that allows us to live a sustainable life? And how can we build that knowledge into our classrooms so that our students see music making as something they can do for their whole life long? So those things are what I'm interested in. That's where I'm coming from. And I'm have decided I'm willing to share some of that journey through this YouTube channel. So I hope that you will be interested enough to follow along my vlog and just be a part of what's going to happen here at Elevated Harmonics. I think there's some really interesting things that we get to explore together, and I'm looking forward to spending my summer and the remaining part of the school year being committed to that type of growth. So if you are interested in following along with me, I would encourage you to hit like on this video and subscribe to my channel. You can find me over on Instagram at Elevated Harmonics. And if you want to get alerts when I share new videos each week, go ahead and hit the bell as well. And we will do this together. I would love to hear in the comments how you are thinking about focusing on your own health and your own wellness and your own wholeness this summer after an incredibly hard stretch as an educator. I'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.